I think he is. Good
No.
evening and welcome to Omnibros Live, the technical horror show.
Oh,
Because
Jesus.
I'm having technical difficulties, and I don't know if Riley's joining us or not. Let's see. Let me. Okay, we're on. Okay, there. He knows we're on, and this is the horror book show. Wait, what do we call this show? Horror books of blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
We're going to talk about scary books to read. And a lot of these books you can get from from InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50% off. Loyalty discounts count for 2% extra on that. There's always a gift card giveaway. We just gave away a gift card Monday night worth $50 worth of credit at InStockTrades.com. They're kind enough to give us that to donate. That never went away during the pandemic, and actually the sponsorship never went away during the pandemic. The pandemic was the real horror, but I digress. Sort of. Where was I? Oh, yeah. $50 or shipping. $50 or more in an order gets you free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We made it. And we have a lot of people. I love this name. Well, first of all, there's pre-show Omni Dog. Then right next to him is the all-new, all-apologetic Omni Dog. And I forgot to take in-stock trades off. That's a banner that needs to be taken up. There we go. What other Omni Dogs in there? There's Jesse Say What is first, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
There's James.
Mm-hmm.
And Commander Monkey. Commander Monkey. There's Gary. What's up, Gary? Oxmeat Pete. Paul Baker. Colin Kennedy.
Yep.
Okay, let me try. Frederic Bipre.
Oh.
Frederic Bipre.
I think you nailed it.
Oh, you think so? Okay, thank you.
Nailed it. Yep. No, that's what we're going with.
You're a good co-host, buddy. Here's Farhan right on. Hey, Justin Liu, Friday morning here, and horror is my thing. Peace and love from Malaysia. Gabriel, how's it going? Paul Baker agrees, thinks I nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
But Frederic says, great try. Maybe it's just Frederic Beaupre. He's from New Orleans. Frederic Beaupre. Happy Friday Eve, says Sazmurph. Marvel Zomni Dog is happy to be here. And William Lee is happy to hear horror book recommendations. Now, I am sort of conflicted because I'm going to do like a 3-part horror, not horror, but October and Autumn Reads video series myself. So I don't want to give away anything. So I picked a bunch of books that I think are good, but I'm not going to talk about. Although, actually, I'm going to talk about this one, but I can talk about it twice because it's great. Spot on, right from Quebec City in Canada. See, I did say Quebec, not Quebec.
Is it Quebec?
I think it's Quebec.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah. I had some friends that went there and they came back and said it's Quebec.
So good to know.
Okay. So what is that?
What is the Florida of Canada? That is my question. Because every country probably has a Florida.
I don't know. Are you sure? I think Florida may be one of a kind. Now, how long were you in Puerto Rico growing up?
Just a few months. I was in Puerto Rico. Really? Yeah. Only about 8 months. And then my family moved to the States. And I spent the majority of about 10, 11 years of my life in Texas, and then moved here to Florida.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so
Mhm.
you split your time between Texas and Florida growing up.
Yes, I did.
Uh-huh.
Southern boy.
Okay, yeah. So and you'd go back to Puerto Rico during the summer? And that's when you'd see the Puerto Rican television that you talk about with Gio?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
about right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Texas. I didn't know that. I thought you were already always in Florida.
No, I spent a good chunk of my life in Texas. I miss it. I love Texas.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I love Texas growing up, man.
Well, I've loved the parts of it I've been to. I saw oh, I think my wife might be watching. Okay, I saw a friend in Dallas.
Right.
And I like Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh, it was actually before I met my wife, so it's okay. I saw a girlfriend, and I didn't even know my wife.
Yeah.
So it was a gal that I knew in Dallas. So I spent a lot of time there, and it was fun. I like Dallas, and then I visited Riley in Austin, and Austin was crazy fun.
Austin is very gentrified and very left leaning. It is not. Austin is weird because it's its own pocket. Well, Riley
In
would know better than
Texas?
me. Yeah, Riley would
Yeah.
know better than me. But Austin is its own pocket of very left leaning, very progressive, very hipstery town.
Well, it's a college town,
It's a
so
college town. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So a lot of that state is generally not like that. I was raised in Dallas Fort Worth, so
Okay.
yeah, I was raised in a different part of Texas, so that's kind of where I get a lot of also my more, not to get into politics, but more my more right leaning sides of things, how I feel
Oh,
about certain things.
interesting.
Yeah.
Pre-show Omnidog asked a funny question. The answer is no. She was not named Debbie. Good question, though.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
missed it, man.
no, that
Barbecue.
was way before I knew my wife.
Yeah, just the food, they're honestly, it's stereotypical to say, but there really is nothing like a good Texas sunset, honestly.
Sunset?
Yeah.
I would argue California sunset. I put my money on California sunsets by the beach growing up.
Okay.
Buddy, we can agree to love what we love.
True. Very true.
But I thought Austin was boss when I was with Riley. First of all, he had a couple days off, so we were as free as could be. Where the hell is he?
Who knows?
And it was pouring rain, but I think he was driving, and I had just gone. I was out there for a wedding somewhere, and I visited him first. And we had just started out. We were going to go comic store shopping, and we just looked, and there was this sign that said Museum of Toys. And we've told this story before, how it was some guy's huge toy collection, and he decided to display it, and it cost $9 each to get in, but you could play with, well, you couldn't play with some of the stuff, but there was tons of arcade cabinets. And we played a bunch of video games together, including an X-Men game that was awful. It was a Sega Saturn X-Men game cartridge or something. It was lame. We couldn't get it to work at all. And he's like, I don't remember this game being this lame.
Yeah.
I just thought there was a ton of really cool stuff to do. I couldn't drink because I was still sober, but had I been not sober, I would have had an even better time, I bet. There was a ton of bars and stuff to do there.
Oh man, yeah, fucking peanut allergies on me, dog.
That's from Monday's show.
That's from Monday's show. That might be my favorite one.
That's the shirt I had on. Good job, whoever you are.
Yeah,
that is extremely funny.
You know, I've heard that a lot. Obviously, I haven't been to Texas in over 20 years, but I've heard kind of that consensus where a lot of people that were born and raised in the state don't necessarily care for Austin.
Oh, I see somebody in here. Oh, I just say okay, yeah. Why do they not care for Austin? Because it's left-leaning college town, hipster.
Yeah, I think that has. I think that's a part of it. I've also heard there's a bit of a smugness to that town. Again, I haven't been there in years, so I don't know. Riley would be able to tell us better if he ever shows up on here.
He's coming right now. He didn't
There
see
he
the
is.
link. He's coming.
But yeah, that's always kind of what I've heard.
Okay, well, as a visitor, I dug it because after that we got haircuts, and then we went to a candy store that was huge, and I think we went to a poster store too.
Nice.
I'm talking about when I visited you in Austin.
Oh, I totally wasn't sitting there waiting for the link like an idiot.
It was up above. I put it there before I left for dinner, like around 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I was working, so.
Oh, okay. I found out Lou spent the first part of his life in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, everybody. We'll get to horror in a sec. And so then I just started talking about Texas, and then it led me to Austin and the fun we had there when I visited you. Going to the Museum of Toys and then the candy store, getting haircuts together.
Come down to DFW and we can do some other stuff.
Okay.
There, I went to. I know I sent you some pictures of like. I went to a record store that's like half an hour out from me, and then I went to like a candy shop downtown, and that's where I texted you more recently, like a picture of
oh yeah,
Frost Top, right? That's what I got.
Right, you got Frost Top, and you also found Goo Goo Clusters.
Yeah,
two of my favorite things on the planet.
Candy is Halloween themed, so it's relevant for this discussion.
Right. And did you find, was Goo Goo Cluster, did you find another candy, or did you just send me pictures of Goo Goo Cluster?
I think I got two different flavor of Goo Goo Cluster, like the normal one and then the maple flavor.
Okay, I haven't tried the maple one.
I think my wife said she preferred the maple, but I like the regular one better.
Okay.
I don't remember what else I had found, but yeah, the Frost Top, I know I told you it tasted like licorice.
It's got a licorice, bit of a licorice aftertaste, yeah.
Yeah, I find it funny how like non-Americans don't like it because it tastes like medicine.
Yeah, Japanese and South Americans in particular.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's different palates around the world taste it differently. And if you taste, somebody gave me sassafras candy, and the sassafras root is what the original real root beer is brewed from. Sassafras tastes like medicine. It's not very good. It's that candy sucked. It tasted like medicine. And I could see, I used to always tease Felipe about it because he tried root beer and said, no, it tastes like medicine. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Felipe, come on, man. Get off your Batman versus Superman kick and tell me that root beer's good. But he wouldn't do it.
Sassafras is one of those words where it's like you don't for the longest time realize it's a real thing. It seems like it's just a term that's thrown out like in place of an expletive. Like
sassafras.
Like suffering succotash. And then I found out at a young age when my grandpa was like, yeah, I made succotash for supper. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, succotash.
And before that, you had just heard Sylvester say it?
Yeah, I just suffering succotash. And I thought it was just a thing that he said.
That's funny. Farhan said, you must visit Malaysia one day, Jess. I'm at your service. Cool.
That'd be fun.
what are the comic book stores like in Malaysia and the beaches? Those are the two things I'm interested in. I bet Malaysia has, unless I'm blocking it out and it's landlocked.
It's ready now.
I feel like Malaysia, is it an island or is it a big landmass on the water?
I think it's isn't it? I'm not great with geography. I almost said geometry, which would have shown how bad I am with geography.
Oh yeah, the
definitely
days are over when I could eat bit of honeys. I can't eat bit of honeys, and that's a young man's candy.
What are bit of honeys?
They're a beige colored bar like that, and
Yeah.
they can be bent into like gum sized pieces,
Huh.
and they taste honey like. But he's not kidding when he says we'll pull your teeth out. They are super sticky. and if you have a filling in your head, it will pull the filling right out. And so I couldn't eat them now. I don't think I can eat Skittles anymore, which is too bad because I like Skittles. But bit of honey, like Sugar Daddy and Sugar Mama, those great caramel suckers.
Yeah.
Bit of honey will absolutely pull your fillings out.
My fiance
or your crowns.
My fiance says you're a terrible influence because she just got candy because of you.
Oh, nice. What'd she get?
What'd you get, sweetie?
Sour Patch watermelon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love Sour Patch Kids.
You too.
Pre-show. What's the Florida of Malaysia, Farhan? Caramel. I grew up in Carmel. It's caramel.
I think we can all agree the worst candy though for Halloween is candy corn.
Oh, I just had a bowl of it and it was awesome.
Oh,
Candy corn and
circus peanuts. Yeah,
circus peanuts.
Circus peanuts.
Circus
Man.
peanuts are the worst.
Like basically sweet styrofoam.
Yeah, not a fan of circus peanuts, but I had the candy corn pumpkins, and man, those things were great.
Oh, they're terrible.
Oh, dude, I got actually high off them. There's so much sugar.
Candy corn is the fruitcake of Halloween.
Oh, that is such a vile statement.
It's the fruitcake of Halloween. It is the Eagles of
statement.
Halloween. How about that?
I was just at a store and I heard the Eagles over the loudspeaker. And I was like, oh, I'm in hell here. They're playing the Eagles the whole time I'm shopping here. God. Oh, yeah. Tootsie Rolls. I can't eat those anymore either. I used to love Tootsie Rolls.
Tootsie Rolls will fuck up your teeth. You want to talk about something that'll mess you up?
Bit of honey, 20 times stickier.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You bite into one and your mouth is not opening for maybe an hour.
I have to check this out. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. I do it on the air Monday. Get a bit of honey.
I might
And it's kind of an old-fashioned candy, so you may not be able to find it like at Safeway or something. You may have to hunt it down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would be interested to see you try and talk with a couple of pieces of bit of honey in your mouth. 3 pieces of bit of honey, and then answer questions from the chat. You'll be like, the COVID fiance.
I'll have to check it out, man.
Okay.
I think I'm looking on Amazon. I can get a pack of it for $13. It's 1.5 pounds of it, though. That's the problem. I don't need close to 2 pounds of candy like that.
You don't need 2 pounds of that candy. I could have 2 pounds of Goo Goo Cluster, but I don't know that I need that candy.
Yeah.
Phil Duran is taking a hard left and changing the subject, but I just had to say it. Inferno #1 was crazy epic, and that's okay that it's we're a comics channel, so we'll talk about single issues. That's cool.
We'll get to it eventually.
What have you read that, Riley? Inferno #1?
I'm like so behind on all single issue stuff. It's intimidating to even get back in. Like I was recently like, all right, what am I gonna do? I think what I'm gonna do is just start picking and choosing and just reading through and binging to catch up on stuff, like binging a year worth of all the X-Men stuff at once, which is not going to be too bad of a deal because basically I'd have everything of the Reign of X era at once going right into like the the events and stuff. But
Right.
I don't know when I'll be able to actually sit down and do that. It's funny because like I'm working not 3 days. I'm off 3 days a week now. And I have 3-day weekends every week, which is great, but like I feel like I have less time because I'm like, oh, it's my day off. I'm gonna do nothing. And I just do nothing 3 days in a row.
Tell me what that's like to have an actual day off. I'd really like that every once in a while.
It's nice until you realize that you don't even do the things you want to do because I don't know, like ADD getting sensory overload on like there's just too many things to choose from to do. I end up like overloading myself and laying on the couch and doing nothing. The only things that I can get done are like if I'm already doing something else, I can watch TV, but I can't sit down and just watch TV to enjoy TV. Because then I wind up being like, I need to do something with my hands. Like I have to be on the internet. I have to be doing something. So sometimes
crazy
I'll
millennial,
I start reading while I am watching TV, so that I can have like I guess every part of me focused on something.
Wow, I don't know how you guys do that. You crazy millennials.
Us crazy neurodivergence, I'll tell you.
Whoa, good words.
I did binge because of that. Like while I was working, I binged the entirety of what's it name? The cephalopod game, Squid Game.
I just finished the 3rd episode. So don't say anything past the 3rd episode.
If you wind up enjoying the show, there are so many recommendations of things that are like it.
Battle Royale.
I think this might be it for me.
I would say Kaiji is the most like literally I was like, this game is so much like Kaiji, it's not even, or this show is so much like Kaiji, it's not even funny. And I looked into it and the guy that made the show literally said I thought of the plot while I was reading Kaiji. And
that's a manga?
Yeah, but it has a movie as well. It has film adaptations and an anime adaptation. And he said also the show Liar Game, or the manga Liar Game. But like Kaiji it's about people who are in incredible debt who get brought into this game at the chance of being able to clear their debt.
Yeah.
And it has the same kind of like manipulation tactics. It's a lot of suspense and stuff with them going back and forth on this stuff. There's a trilogy of Japanese films. I think it's 3 that adapt it, but then there is a single film from China called Animal World. And it actually has Michael Douglas plays one of the roles in it. It's a Chinese film with Michael Douglas in it. And it encompasses the entirety of the first story arc, which is basically extreme rock, paper, scissors. And I would definitely recommend it. Like if you wind up enjoying watching Squid Game, Animal World is also available on Netflix. It's just, 2 hours or less movie. Subtitles and stuff if you want it. Michael Douglas doesn't need subtitles though, because he speaks in English. He does not speak in Chinese in that movie.
Oh, I think that it's been shocking and disturbing and thrilling enough that I believe once I'm done with it, I will be ready to move on, because October is when I want to watch Haunting of Hill House. That's the next Netflix. I know. Lou's been recommending it ever since it's been on. Taylor Brown's been recommending it.
It's brilliant.
I have to start Haunting of Hill House, and October starts tomorrow. And that's when I'm starting. Well, I'm going to have to finish Squid Game first.
I'm not kidding when I've told you this, and I stand by it. Episode 4, it's either 4 or 5, the reveal of who the bent neck lady is one of the most brilliant pieces of TV I think I've ever seen. It's fucking amazing, that episode.
Well, fortunately, I don't know what you're talking about, so I am looking forward to seeing it. I'm
so good.
I'm gonna watch that, and I gotta watch Dr. Sleep, Those are the two things I want to concentrate
There you
on
go.
for October.
You're gonna need to
Yeah.
watch Midnight Mass as well.
Oh
Midnight
Mass
yeah,
is
that too.
Midnight Mass is great. I'm 5 episodes in. I'm trying to wrap it up sometime this week, but it's so good.
Right.
I haven't watched it yet, but it's by the same people, the same dude that did Doctor Sleep.
That's
Mike
Mike
Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
my
Mike
my
Flanagan.
wife loved Doctor Sleep. I thought it was fine, but she loved Doctor Sleep, and so when I found that out, I was like, "Yo, it's by the same dude," and she's like, "Oh, we gotta watch it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Mike
do it.
Flanagan. Mike Flanagan is quickly becoming the go-to guy for horror in Hollywood right now because outside of Bile Manor, I didn't care for it. It's basically just a lesbian love story.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, but it was a boring lesbian love story.
Oh,
He never really misses with his stuff, and Midnight Mass is so fucking good, Jess. It's
I can't
really
wait to see it.
good.
Yeah, Taylor raved about it. Pre-show Omnidog. If Deceased is not a zombie story, is it still considered a horror comic? I'm going to do a series of books to be read in October and autumn. That's one of the series, and I'll tell you, I will answer that question, how it's still a horror comic, even though it is definitely not a zombie comic. And Gabriel, about $35 and 6 months to wait from CGC, if you're lucky. A lot of people are waiting like up to a year right now. They're so backed up. Actually, I want to get back to Inferno #1. Does anybody know what that's about? Is there a new Inferno thing happening with magic and stuff? And
I
you
keep
care
hearing.
for.
I think this is Hickman heading towards the end of his run. I think that's all I know about it. I fell off of the Hickman train for X-Men very early on. Once they started pumping out 30 books a month for X-Men, I was like, yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know the premise exactly. I know that it's kind of spinning out of the red carpet thing or the Hellfire Gala. Someone dies and then someone gets in trouble for it, and I think this is related to that. And then there's also there's a return for Onslaught coming.
okay.
Shadow King is coming or is back. So there's a lot of things moving around right now that I know the basics of what's happening because I know all the books that are out. I just haven't read them, and so I couldn't tell you exactly who's involved where and what's involved with what. But maybe in a few months when I read everything, I will. But I started all my horror and Halloween stuff September 1st this year. We've already started watching movies. I've been reading books. I've been giving daily recommendations on my TikTok. I've done 29 recommendations this past month so far.
Wow.
And I'm going to continue through. So it'll be 61 separate recommendations in total. For half of those will be comics, and then half of them, I guess one will have more than the other, but basically half and half manga and comics. And
I remember you used to watch a movie a day in October.
There was one year we actually succeeded watching one movie every single day. And my wife after that was like, never again.
Okay. I was wondering if you were going to do it again.
No, it was too much of a... I'll tell you what I've watched so far, though, and I can give some quick recommendations because I've taken it down.
Here's a quick thing from Farhand, since we're into horror or trivia. James Wan is a Malaysian. The guy who did Conjuring and Insidious movies and Aquaman, I think, right?
And he did one of the movies that I've watched this year. Malignant was his new movie that came out this year.
Oh yeah, Malignant. I want to. Good grief! There's too much good stuff.
Malignant, I didn't care for.
I think Insidious genuinely freaked me out. I like the Conjuring movies, but freaking Insidious was such an effective jump scare. Freak me out. When the reveal is revealed. Holy smoke! What a great movie! I think, my opinion.
So I've watched, I don't know how many this is, but this year so far, we watched Jennifer's Body, The Final Girls, the 3 Fear Street films. So that's 3 more. Fear Street on what's it called? Netflix. Malevolent, the Evil Dead remake, because we hadn't seen that one since it was in the theaters.
That's good.
Malignant, Motel Hell. My dad was like, this movie was playing when I worked at the movie theater in like the 80s. You should watch it. And it was so bad. And he's like, this is a lot worse than I remember it being.
Mhm.
Oh, you watched it with your dad?
Yeah, because Megan wanted to watch the original Evil Dead, and she was like, "Oh man, this one," and he goes, "Oh, that came out in whatever." Like he'd never seen it, and he's like, "That's around the time when I was working at the movie theater." And she was like, "Did you remember it playing?" And I said, like, "I wonder if it even played at your theater. Like it might have not had a wide release because it was a smaller movie." And he was like, "No, but there was this. Let me see if I can find it." And he pulled up Motel Hell, and I was like, all right. And then she left. Like, she didn't watch it, but I sat there with him because I'm like, I don't want to be rude and hurt his feelings. So I watched the movie, and it was not good, but it was like, I would say it's a decent, like, B-movie horror flick. Like, if you want something crappy to watch,
I don't have enough time left to want to watch crappy things.
well, that's fine too.
Dude,
what
if you're looking for something good, you need to watch Near Dark. Near Dark is
Oh,
fucking
Near Dark is
great.
fantastic.
Yes,
I
I'm so
love
glad.
that movie.
Bill Paxton is so fucking good as the vampire in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Near Dark is amazing.
I love Near Dark.
It's such an underrated gem. I'm so happy they're putting out the Blu-ray of that. That movie has been just out of print for so long. It's one of Catherine Bigelow's first films.
Oh, Hurt Locker?
Yes,
person?
she was
Yeah.
James Cameron's ex-wife.
Right.
And it's so badass. I love Near Dark.
Right. What else, Riley?
we watched, I just realized that we didn't finish this one when I was visiting my parents last week, Homebound, which I think is a New Zealand horror comedy. And we didn't realize that it was a horror comedy until we started watching it, and it was just ridiculous. And then I made a video about Ice Cream Man, the comic, and so many people were like, is this related to the movie with what's his name? Ron Howard's brother, Clint Howard. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not related at all. And then I was like,
Howard.
I've never seen this movie. I'm gonna watch it, and it's on YouTube. So I found it and I watched it one night, like before going to bed, and that is like peak B horror. Like that movie is so it's when I was watching it, like I never do this, but I was like, man, this movie could have been like literally 50% better if they just had an actual soundtrack, like an actual score, because the score sounds like it was just someone took like crappy music that was on the cutting room floor and stuck it into the film.
What movie is this?
Ice Cream Man.
Oh.
With Clint Howard. But the music just does not match. Like it doesn't have the vibe at all. But like everything else, like the story is fun, the characters are fun. The horror is like it gets pretty gruesome and pretty gory and stuff throughout, so it works pretty well. It has a nice ending as well, like with a good hook to it where you're like, oh man, if they did another one, that would be cool. But like there's just some of the editing is just terrible. Like it's they needed a better sound editor and a better like someone to score this movie properly. I guarantee like if someone did a fan edit of this movie and just gave it a proper horror movie score, it would be so much better. But it's still fine. It's still a fine, like I'd recommend if you want a cheesy movie, it's good. But yeah,
I think Clint Howard peaked with Gentle Ben, which was it like 1968.
yeah, he I think this one really leans into his abilities and his appearance.
Okay.
Oh, I just got some disheartening news. My sister-in-law wants to watch this show. All right. I'll tell her how to watch it. She's here visiting. It's actually fine. What's the name of this show again? Go to YouTube and search. I should say Gem Mint Collectibles. Have her watch something else. Go to YouTube and search Omnibros. live.
Frederick's question. I like this one. What would you choose for a Halloween read? Uzumaki or
Oh.
Gideon Falls? That's an easy one, man. I would go with Uzumaki. Gideon Falls, it has horror elements to it, but it's also a lot of sci-fi stuff to it. So I would definitely 100% go more with Uzumaki, which is basically just a straight up horror story. You can't go wrong with them.
Yeah, John, I was just gently teasing my sister-in-law. That was nothing about Gem Mint. Gem Mint is fine. It was just a joke for my sister-in-law. Gideon Falls. Yeah, I agree with that. Uzumaki's awesome, though. That's one of the few mangas I've actually read. Oh, okay. Good. Okay. So are you still going on your movies? Go for it.
That's the last. I think that's the last thing. I might have watched something else since I got back, but I didn't write it down.
For me, I mean, if we're doing recommendations, there's quite a few things that I would recommend. You could probably
Are we talking movies now?
I guess we are.
Let's talk about scary movies before we talk about scary books. What the heck?
I've mentioned this before, but the two Spanish films that I always recommend people that they should watch are Rec 1 and Rec 2. Brilliant camera films. They do it right. They do the shaky cam thing really right. The Ritual, which is on Netflix,
that's
also
great.
Very good. I highly recommend The Ritual if you have not seen it. It's a great horror kind of monster demonic film to it. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. Just kind of.
It's got the butler from Downton Abbey in it.
Yes.
And I have a crush on him. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. I'm just shouting stuff off. Of course, there's the Jordan Peele stuff, which is Get Out, Us, a very good social commentary on the things that are going on in the U.S. right now and across the world. Brilliant stuff that he's doing. If you want to get a little bit more cosmic and a little bit more weird, there's Mandy that was done a few years ago by Nicolas Cage, which is very good, but I will warn you, it's not for everybody. I love Mandy. It was probably one of my favorite films that year. Let me think. And that's kind of what I have just off the top of my head, spitballing.
Did you watch that? I think it came out around the same time, the other Nicolas Cage based on a Lovecraft story.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't. Colors from Space or something like that.
Yeah,
it's something. Yeah, I can't remember.
It's around that, but like, I've been wanting to watch it for a while because I did watch Mandy and I did enjoy that. But I haven't had the chance to.
I mean, I can rattle off my favorites. My favorite horror film of all time is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Thing is a classic, not the 1930s, not the 1940s one, but the actual The Thing, the 1970s one, the John Carpenter one. A lot of people don't realize that The Thing is actually a remake of an old film.
Oh yeah, James Arness is the monster.
Mm-hmm. Yep, dead on. So there's that. And Rec 1, Rec 2, like I've already said.
If you want to read The Thing, you can always read Daniel Way's crappy Venom run.
Friday the 13th, Part 3, Dream Warriors. That happens to be my favorite Friday. No, not Friday. Nightmare on Elm Street. Excuse me. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Friday the 13th, Part 4 happens to be my favorite Friday the 13th. Yeah, that's kind of what's in my head.
I'm not like you. I have to go to my channel that I did the scary movie reviews with Chad Omnidog's wife. I remember we loved Insidious. I remember we loved the Babadook.
Babadook is good.
Let's see. Edit channel, Omnibus collection. Okay, come on. Yeah.
Hereditary, if you want something more.
Hereditary freaked me out. Yep.
Midsommar, loved Midsommar. That's probably my fiance's one of her favorite films. We've seen it like 4 times already.
Okay, yeah. Oculus. Have you seen Oculus?
I have not seen Oculus.
Holy guacamole. Nebula does such a good job acting in that movie.
Yeah.
That movie is great. Oculus is really great. Oh,
Mhm.
we have a super chat. I'm sorry, I don't own the French fry GIF. I don't have it in my arsenal. Hey, Jess, I just received Gideon Falls yesterday. I read it in one sitting. Now I can't wait for book 2. Awesome, Vigilante Danny. Thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. Uh-oh. Sazmurf has the Barry Manilow song stuck in his head. You did it to him, Lou.
Yeah.
I have not seen the Mothman Prophecies. Is that with what's his name? Richard Gere. Is that with Richard Gere?
That is with Richard Gere. I have seen the Mothman Prophecies. I happen to enjoy that movie. It's pretty good.
Okay. Let's see. We also liked Let the Right One In, but that was also controversial because lots of people wrote in about how different it was from the book and how what do I want to say? The Let the Right One In, the gender of the one of the main characters, it was sort of genderless, but you couldn't tell. So I guess it was I'll just call her genderless. We love Train to Busan.
Train to Busan is brilliant. Let the Right One In is great. There's the US version and there's the Swedish version, and I personally love the Swedish. I think it's Swedish. Love the Swedish version over the US version of Let the Right One In.
The Swedish version is what we watched. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the
my
version
all-time favorite is the Blackcoat's Daughter. The Blackcoat's Daughter is unbelievably great and way underrated, way underappreciated, underwatched because it had such an odd title. I 100% recommend Blackcoat's Daughter to everyone. That has an amazing ending. The whole thing is amazing. All the acting is spot on. It is truly horrific and scary. That thing stuck with me as far as making my body shake for 2 hours after watching Don't Breathe. My heart was pumping and I was sweating and my hands were shaking after watching Don't Breathe. That thing was really tense. Super tense.
My fiance and I, we watched Freaky the other night, and it was actually really good. It's a body switch movie where the girl body switches with a serial killer.
Played by Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, it's actually a fun movie.
Oh.
Yeah, we watched that one. My wife and I watched it when we were in Florida. When was that? August, beginning of August, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
But we watched it back then, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. I would say in the same vein of like the level of fun and the style of kind of taking something on its something familiar and putting a different type of twist on it was one of the movies I mentioned that I had watched, Final Girls. I don't know if either of y'all have seen or heard of that one.
I have not.
That one is basically, it takes the idea of like the final girl is the last girl that's alive in a horror movie, that she's the one that has to kill the villain. But it's this very like very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very like referential towards the genre, because it has like this group of kids who are like fans of horror movies and stuff, and they go to watch a movie and somehow they get sucked into the movie itself.
Oh,
and
cool.
The group of kids has to like survive through the runtime of the film.
What's this movie called?
It's called Final Girls.
Oh, it sounds awesome.
I don't remember. It's either on, let me see if it's on Hulu or Netflix for you, but it has Malin Ackerman as one of the main characters, and her daughter is not like real life, but she has a daughter in the movie that also is one of the main characters. And So they have to basically survive through the 90-minute runtime of this film and figure out how to kill the slasher. Yeah, there it is. It's on
good.
Hulu. It
Hulu?
also has what's his name, the dude who was a swinger in real life, who's in Silicon Valley. The main character from Silicon Valley is in there, as well as
I didn't see that.
the girl that plays Maybe in Arrested Development.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Okay, I like
love
her.
her.
Yeah, she's
So
great.
there's those two. There's a girl also in there who's from, what's it called, Degrassi, who I think played in another show later on, but I knew her from Degrassi. And then a guy that I did not recognize, but he apparently was in the Hunger Games films.
And
If-
I apologize because I get these movies mixed up. It's not Insidious, it's Sinister.
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
Sinister.
Sinister, so fucking good.
That
That's
movie makes me poop myself every time I watch it.
Sinister is so good. Oh my god.
The way that the scenes are presented is like when they're watching the reels of
So
the
good.
families, the way that stuff is presented is so just perfectly eerie. 100% perfectly eerie. It messes me up every time. Like the last time we watched it in friggin' broad daylight because it's too much to watch in the dark.
I am so happy they're teaming back up again to do the Black Phone. That comes out sometime next year, I think.
I think I saw that trailer.
What's it about?
It's based off of a Joe Hill book. The Black Phone. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen the trailer. I don't need to see anything. It actually premiered at Fantastic Fest sometime last week, and everybody's raving about it. So I'm so stoked to see the Black Phone. I can't wait.
I did love Insidious, but I'm mixing it up with Sinister. When I say the reveal, that's what Riley was talking about. The reveal in Sinister is what's so amazing. And Ethan Hawke does a great job in that movie.
Yeah.
The whole premise of that movie is amazing. We also love the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
That one's really solid as well.
Room 1402 with
John Cusack.
yeah, thank you.
1408.
1408?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing happens in 1402. It's just a regular room.
That's not the party room. You're
1408.
a few doors down. Then that's
a few doors down, you can get room service.
Isn't Sam Jackson in that one too?
Yeah, he's the manager of the hotel that keeps trying to talk John Cusack out of going into that room.
Is it a Stephen King joint?
Yeah, I read those. It's a short story novella. Yeah, I read it.
And it feels like Stephen King also. Like watching that, like if you didn't know, you'd be like, either this is Stephen King or it's extremely like inspired by.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those. I don't think Stephen King's movies, I don't think the books, I don't think movies have done a good job with the majority of Stephen King's books. That's just my personal opinion. This one nailed it. What is it? 1412, or is that one where they get?
No, wait. Now you've gone too far down the hallway.
Now I've gone the other direction.
You got to get down the other way. It's right in between the two you're talking about.
Okay. Here's Chat Omnidog. I was just talking about your wonderful wife, Chat. I'm going to talk about Hellblazer tonight. If we get to books, the answer is yes, it's good. Tom Taylor wrote it. Tom Taylor has a great feel for Constantine, and this I know you're a tightwad. I know you don't like to spend money. Go out and get the hardcover. It's oversized, black label, beautiful art by Derek Robertson, and it's got Tom Taylor writing. This is one of the things that makes me say Tom Taylor, and Lou and I agreed to disagree. He feels Donny Cates is the number one writer, and I feel Tom Taylor's the number one writer with Donny Cates just behind him.
It's close.
It's close, yeah. Tom Taylor, everything he's written that I've read, and I've read it all, is just a huge home run. Oh yeah, chat. I'm just talking about Jenny and all the horror movies we reviewed together because we're talking about horror movies instead of books. But yeah, tell her to turn it, watch the last 10 minutes that we've been talking because I really loved the shows that I was doing with her. She was so insightful. This is Cy Spurrier also wrote a great Hellblazer that sadly only got 12 issues. The next best thing, or I can't say next best thing because this thing is so good. This is my first recommendation for October books. Fantastic premise, extremely well done. Tom Taylor. No, it has no connection to the Spurrier book. It's completely standalone. No, Chad Omnidog isn't married to Patty. Chad Omnidog's married to Jenny. So that's my first recommendation. I don't think I've ever read a Tom Taylor book. What's his best? Pick him.
He's great. He's great all around.
Suicide Squad is great.
Yeah, he's great.
What's the one he's Injustice is great, but that's a mighty chunk of book to read. What's his X-Men Red is great. That's great X-Men 2 volumes. What else is he famous for? All-Star All New Wolverine. That is by far I would is one of his best.
Injustice.
Injustice. Deceased. I'm going to be talking about that. Seven Secrets. Yeah, Phil Duran. That's Seven Secrets is great. Suicide Squad. Yeah. I was going to talk about The Descent as a good movie. That I thought that was a really good movie. That's you guys like that?
My wife's absolute favorites.
From Frederick Beaupre.
The first time I watched it, I thought it was fine, but I think I was expecting something different than what we got. And then the second time I watched it, knowing what it was, I enjoyed it a lot more.
She will love hearing that, Jess. You should guilt her into watching that Haunting of Hill House show with and discussion on the web. I bet you she can be persuaded. That would be a great one shot because I know she doesn't have time to do the show anymore. I'm watching Haunting of Hill House. I will text her and see if I can convince her to watch it with me, and then we'll do like one more show. I would love that. She's so interesting and insightful, which makes me wonder what the hell she's doing with you, chat. I have no idea. If you actually looked like your avatar, then I could understand it. Oh, that's me. Here's one. Tom Taylor's current run on Nightwing. Yeah, I've heard good things about that. He's got something going on Superman 2 that I haven't read. It's X-23. Yeah, you dig All New Wolverine. It's one of my all-time favorite books. Here's the Honda Lorian. Good evening, Omni Dudes. Lock and Key is an all-time great. That's true. I definitely got spooked during that book. You guys ever see The Addiction?
Never seen it.
Black and white 90s, Christopher Walken and Lily Taylor as vampires. Keyword is addiction. Christopher Walker and Lily Taylor. I know who she is. She was in the James Wan Conjuring. I think she was in the first Conjuring, wasn't she, Lily Taylor?
I believe you are correct on that. It's man, there James Wan just putting out so many good stuff, and then he puts out,
he and Mike Flanagan really know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's really interesting if you're looking for. So it's in the realm of horror. It's a bit different than your traditional jump scare stuff, but it's still very fucked up. There was an Antonio Banderas movie a few years ago called The Skin I Live In. It was a Spanish film, and it has one of those moments I'm not even going to give away the premise because I don't want to give anything away. It has one of those moments where the big reveal happens, where my jaw hit the floor. You
Wow.
can hear
The
a
skin I'm
resounding-
in.
the skin I live in.
The skin I live in.
Yeah, my jaw hit the floor, and you could hear a resounding thud. And it hit the floor. I was like, "Oh my god, that's actually what's going on in this movie." It's so good. I
Do I-
love that movie.
Where's movies to see? I have TV shows to see. I know I must have movies to see. The heck?
It falls into it kind of falls into the horror category for those of you out there. The trailer doesn't give anything away.
The skin I live in. Okay, I'm probably gonna ask again because I don't seem to have a movie thing on my phone, which is weird. Okay, whatever. Sorry. Do you guys have a hard out time tonight? Because if so, we should probably start talking about books.
Yeah, let's talk about books.
I've got about probably another 20 minutes.
Okay, let's talk about books. I led with Hellblazer: Rise and Fall.
Good choice.
So now somebody else go.
I've got a few sitting here that I grabbed that are not big two books, and they're three that like they're horror themed, but they're all three like horror comedy kind of. Which is I love horror comedy because I love horror that doesn't take itself too seriously. But number one, the first one is Sullivan Sluggers. I talk about Sullivan Sluggers every chance.
I almost grabbed that.
It's fun.
Well, good thing you didn't, because I like to talk about it every chance I get.
And that's the awesome edition, right?
Yeah, that's the one I found at used bookstore a few months ago that comes with the little
that's an amazing find.
Print and stuff in there. But James Stokoe at like his best, in my opinion. There's so much going on in this book that he just gets to display his art and his artistic abilities through all of these different characters and monsters and stuff. It's one for fans of the I would say of the Evil Dead films, fans of Sam Raimi and his kind of brand of horror. It's a very simple story. You follow a baseball team that goes for an away game, and when they play the other team, everything seems a little bit off, and then the other team starts revealing their true nature. I can find the right pages here. And it's all like monsters and stuff. So it's ghouls and monsters and zombies and all that stuff that's around this town that they've gone to. And so the rest of the night, basically, they have to fight to survive against these things, using whatever they can, baseball bats and various explosives and sharp objects and whatnot. And it's just a really great time. This hardcover edition was, like I mentioned, I found it at a used bookstore nearby me. And that was a surprise because I also found it for just $20, which is really nice.
I paid cover for it.
What's cover on this?
You know what? I don't even
$50.
remember.
So this is a $50 book, and I got it for $20, so that's even better than I thought.
Bastard!
That's a
I
good
never
price.
knew what the cover price was. I don't know if it's expensive online. I don't know if it's hard to get, but the paperback is available. I think it's on Amazon right now for $20, and it's a perfectly good way of experiencing this story. I think, is it the paperback or is it just a standard hardcover? Because I think the original one I had was standard hardcover. But anyway, it's great. I absolutely love it. I recommend it as many times as I can. It's very seldom that you get like sports in comics, because sports is a big thing in manga, but not as much in Western comics. Not saying there's no sports comics at all, but it just doesn't happen as much. And B, to get sports mixed with horror is hilarious. That never happens, and I think it's perfectly done in Sullivan Sluggers. James Stokoe, Mark Andrew Smith on this one is a fantastic book. It's labeled as Volume 1, but I don't think there's any plans to come back to the world of Sullivan Sluggers. But if there were, then I would not be against it. The next one I have is another one that I like to talk about whenever I can, and that's Max Beemus' Centipede miniseries.
Oh yeah.
This was from Dynamite from a few years ago. Max Beemus, the frontman of Say Anything, has done all gold in my eyes. Like everything that he's written in comics has been fantastic. And he did this. There was this short-lived Atari Comics like thing going on at Dynamite several years ago. This was his entry, and there was also at least one other series that was part of that. And Centipede was just fantastic. Subtitled Game Over. We follow the main character is, as we know it, the last man on Earth after the invasion of these giant alien insects. Basically, the insects that we're familiar with from the video game, the classic Atari game of Centipede. And so throughout, we get to see him fighting against these giant spiders and beetles and whatnot. We see the familiar glowing mushrooms are there, and a lot of it is this really introspective look in our main character's head while he's going against these giant monsters, just dealing with the fact that he's the last person on Earth. I think Beemus described it as he took a lot of inspiration from John McClane's narration throughout the Die Hard movie, where he's just like making fun quips to himself about the situation. And that's kind of what we get here, is this dude is like having to go through this very seldom experience where he's the only person there. It's a really great story. It's not as comedy leaning as the other two that I have that I grabbed, but it is still kind of ridiculous in concept, but very heartfelt, which is the same. Like Max Beemus does everything has something to do with mental health, which is always big for me because I like seeing that representation, seeing the stuff that I deal with on the page as well. And then number two, he always has a lot of heart in his stuff. Like there's always a lot of emotion that goes into the characters in anything that he writes, which is really great. And then finally, another fun one of mine that I love to recommend is Mars Attacks from Kyle Starks. Kyle Starks is fantastic. He has a great sense of humor in everything that he does, and his take on Mars Attacks is just amazing. We have the familiar Martians going ack throughout the book.
I want to second that. I read Mars Attacks before Kristen and I interviewed Kyle Starks because Kristen's best friends with him, and I loved that book. It was so much fun.
It's funny, it's gory, it's great. Like it's everything that I would want from this type of book. And it has a lot of heart to it as well. It's got great characters in there. You have our main character is this like hippie dude who really doesn't have his life together, and he's at the beginning going to visit his dad, who's basically in a retirement home. His dad is an old vet, and you get that established relationship between the two characters off the bat. It's it's rough and stuff, but then all of a sudden, like as they're having this little father-son quarrel, we find out that the world is under attack by Martians who are burning everything and killing people left and right. And so the son is like, we got to get out of here. And the dad's like, don't bother me. And then he's like, no, like seriously, let's go. And then they start running. And I love it. The whole series, like you get this great father-son dynamic of the two characters, like constantly at batting heads with each other. And then like, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's my dad, that's my son. Like we're trying to make this work. Very heartfelt story with them in the midst of this ridiculous alien invasion with like neon colored lasers and green blood flying around everywhere, people getting burned alive and melted, cows on fire. Like it's fantastic. Like every page is an absolute joy. If you were a fan of any Mars Attacks, anything at all, it's great. It has great like cartoony yet detailed artwork.
Did he draw it as well, or did somebody else draw it?
No, it was Chris Schweizer is the artist.
Yeah.
He didn't do the art on this one. And it's similar to his style though. Like he does have a similar style, but it's slightly variant from what he does. But I love it. I can't help but recommend it to as many people as I can, because it embodies a lot of what I just love about the medium and what I love about like horror comics as well, because it's just doesn't take itself too seriously. Beautiful artwork, has a lot of heart, laughs on almost every page. Like I love it. And it's gory. Like the gore makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Those are my three that I wanted to talk about. Like I said earlier, I've been doing recommendations every single day, so I have at least 60 recommendations up my sleeve.
Wow.
But those are the three I wanted to mention because I try to as many times as I can.
I think Centipede was one of the first recommendations.
It probably was, because I'm very adamant about it.
Yeah, the very first one was worst X-Man ever. I remember
Max
that.
Beemus.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
another Max
Centipede
Beemus
was
I love it.
next, and then the rest are lost to history. Somebody in the chat can probably tell us what all the recommendations were, or Geo. He
Red
has a memory
Hulk
for
was
that.
one of them.
What was that? Red Hulk, yeah.
was one of them. I don't remember the rest, but like it started to become a real pressure on me to come up with new ones, because every single time it was like, oh, you're totally right again, and then it's like, oh, what if I slip up?
Well, we did about 14 of them, and they were all spectacularly correct. You nailed every single one of them, but I get that you wanted to retire. I understand.
I wanted to retire.
Yeah, you wanted to go out on a high note, and you didn't want the pressure anymore. I get it.
When I read something else that I know that you'll love, I'll reinvigorate the recommendation program.
Okay.
Resurrect it, if you will.
Okay, good. Well, Lou, what are do you have any
Yeah. I've got a few. Just off the top of my head, I'm gonna shoot from the hip here. Revival, written by Tim Seeley, art by Mike Norton, if I'm not mistaken. Revival is a fantastic little series and it basically deals with what happens when all of a sudden one day in this town, people don't die. People that should have died don't die, and they come back. And it's just located in this small town, not anywhere else, and it deals with the ramifications of that. It's brilliant. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it handles a lot of subjects.
They don't come back as zombies, right?
No.
They come back as themselves.
They come back as themselves. It's
Yeah.
not like a zombie thing or anything like that.
Right.
It kind of bucks the trend of zombies, which were very prevalent at the time when Revival first came out. And it's a brilliant little book exploring the concept of death and what it means to die. And there's some shady stuff that's going on. There's a lot of spiritual things, some aliens, but I'm not going to get into that here. But Revival is fantastic. If you are looking for something that's a little bit different than your standard zombie fare, that's definitely the way to go. The next one that I have would be Alien Dead Orbit by James Stokoe.
Mm-hmm.
Alien Dead Orbit is so good. We've Gabe and I especially have talked about James Stokoe on this channel multiple times. Stokoe to me is one of the best artists working today. He's very detailed. His art is insanely crazy, but the guy can't work on a monthly schedule because of that. So he does these little mini series throughout the year, and we've seen him do Godzilla, which is great. Riley mentioned Sullivan Sluggers, which is a James Stokoe project as well. Alien Dead Orbit to me is probably, outside of some of the comic stuff that has been put out by Dark Horse and things like that, it's probably the best Alien thing that's been put out in a long time for me. I think it absolutely captures the spirit of the original Alien film and what that is like, of being isolated in space and being alone and being hunted down by this basically insurmountable killing machine. And I absolutely love that book. It's very light on dialogue, so I'm warning you right now, if you pick this up, chances are you're going to blaze right through this, because Stokoe prefers to tell the story more through his art than through the words in this. And I think for the most part, it works very well. I love that book. I absolutely love it. The next choice, Afterlife with Archie. I fucking love Afterlife with Archie, and
Those are great.
it was so good, and it's a damn shame, I think, that Afterlife with Archie did not continue as a series. I think there was one trade, one hardcover, and that's about it.
I feel like that, yeah.
Yeah, and they had always, I think, said that they would come back to the project, but it never quite manifested, if I remember correctly. Basically, what ends up happening is Jughead's God, it's been years since I've read this, but if I remember correctly, Jughead's dog, I think, is what dies, and it comes back, or he makes a deal or something like that, and then the dog ends up biting him, and it basically starts the zombie apocalypse in Archie's town. And it's so good. It's such a fun M-rated adult version of what would happen if a zombie outbreak were to happen in Archie's town. So it's drawn by Francisco Francavilla, and you could never go wrong with Francisco Francavilla's art. I think the man is fucking great. He's such a great talent. If you've ever seen his stuff on Twitter, he does a lot of movie poster type things for TV shows and things like that he's seen in the past. He did one for Breaking Bad a few years ago. If I'm correct, I think it was the episode of Ozymandias that was just beautiful. He's so good. It's insane.
I think every year on Twitter he does, or on Instagram, which either one or both, he does daily horror posters like that. And I think one year he did like the like black actors and actresses of horror one every single day.
Yeah.
Really cool to see.
Yeah, so he's really good in that. The last choice that I have, you know what? I'm gonna kind of go off a little bit of a different way. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna cheat a little bit on this one. I'm gonna say Black Mirror. I'm gonna say Scott Snyder's Black Mirror.
Interesting choice.
Because it's very much a Dick Grayson story, but it's also a James Gordon story. And the James Gordon story of that is arguably just pure horror. And it has, for me, I've mentioned this before, it has one of the best endings that Scott Snyder has ever written. And I don't think he has still topped that ending yet, because I still remember what that last panel is. And it leaves you going, where the fuck can this go? And unfortunately, we'll never know, because that's when the New 52 kicked off. And Scott Snyder did that deliberately. It's such a great fucking ending that sticks with you, and I love it.
Now, he created the character of James Gordon, right?
No. That was a character that has been around since, I want to say, the Frank Miller days, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I have found him to be the son of, Jim Gordon and brother to Barbara. I have found him to be one of the scariest villains in DC Comics in the modern era. He genuinely frightens me way more than the Joker, way more than Scarecrow, Riddler, anybody else. James Gordon freaks me out.
Yeah. This version of James Gordon is Scott Snyder's.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, I'm probably wrong on this. I think that's a Frank Miller thing.
Okay.
But I'm probably wrong on that. And it's such a great and brilliant way to bring that character back, because that character had disappeared for years in comics and nobody even thought about it. And all of a sudden you bring him back, and it's basically telling the story of, what if your son was a serial killer? And is he actually a serial killer or not? And dealing with that. And so good. Just such a great story.
Because he has so many
he throws red herrings. He throws red herrings in there. He throws a lot of red herrings throughout that story.
Well, he has so many times when he's acting normal and he appears normal and he's trying to work on himself and he's taking meds and it appears he's really trying to work on himself, and you sort of let your guard down a little bit, but you don't really feel like you can trust it.
Right.
And that's why I think the writing of the character is really amazing because you get so emotionally invested
Mhm.
in. You worry about the people around him, like his sister and his father and anybody that's around him. And then the people he goes after you've sort of dropped your guard. I don't want to spoil it. Well, you've already told us he's a serial killer. So, but I loved that version that Scott Snyder wrote. And I've liked all the versions since then because he's so genuinely scary.
Yeah.
That's why I always thought Killmonger was so scary too.
Yeah.
Both of those characters are super believable. Can the Joker happen? No. James Gordon and Killmonger, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, Killmonger minus the powers, just the anger that drives him to, do the things he does. Those guys are believable to me, and that's why they're so scary to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you especially, Jess, you lived through the serial killer thing of the 70s and the 80s where people were freaking out, where you had Ted Bundy and you had the Zodiac killer and all that stuff that was going on all around in the news. Son of Sam. You had all those guys that were going on in the news, and everybody was wondering, why the fuck is crime going up? What's going on with us as a country? It must have been just a crazy ass time to live in, because you would hear all this stuff about these crazy people.
Yeah, it's now that you mention it, it did seem like it happened not regularly, but it did seem to happen pretty often that they were, the Green River Killer and stuff like that you would, and the Southern California had I can't think of the name, like the Interstate Killer. He had a different name. But yeah, it did seem like all of a sudden, starting with the Zodiac Killer was the first, because I lived in Northern California at the time. He was the first one that I became aware of. And they never caught him.
Yep.
So, and then, you're right. It was weird now that I think about it. Yeah. The Afterlife with Archie, there were spin-offs with Jughead and Veronica that I also enjoyed. I personally enjoyed them. I think there was Jughead the Hunger and Vampironica, which was fun. But I enjoyed those also, just to throw those out there. And just so we don't forget, InStockTrades.com, our fabulous sponsor, where you can get books up to 50% off. I saw some really good Omnis on Tuesday when I went on there. If you scroll down to the bottom of the front page, there are some top-notch Omnis up that are 50% off. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. At the end of every month, which happened this past Monday, we give away a $50 gift card courtesy of InStockTrades.com. $50 or more in an order gets you free shipping, fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. Okay, yeah. Right on. Whoops, I gotta take that off. Okay. I missed some things here. Golden State Killer. Thanks to True Graphic Novel, that was going to be one of my recommendations. I happen to have it right here. Very nice True Graphic Novel fan 1989. This is there are multiple versions of this book out. I read it in floppies when it first came out. Yeah, that's how old I am. It does take some getting used to the scratchy nature of Eddie Campbell's work. I love Bacchus that he's written. I forget the name of his life story that Eddie Campbell's done. So I'm a fan of his work. And this is a meticulously researched and footnoted. I have the companion version, which is where Alan Moore got all his inspiration for. I mean, it's a whole book of where he got his footnotes and his inspiration, and he takes it. This is about Jack the Ripper, and he takes it far enough where he names who he thinks is the killer. It's amazing. It's about the investigation into Jack the Ripper at the time it occurred. Whether or not you around Victorian times England, whether or not you agree with his conclusion, how he gets there cannot be argued with. It is incredibly well, it's so well researched and so well written. You feel you are there on the streets of London, Victorian London. And it's the fact I don't know, maybe Jack the Ripper was the first serial killer. I'm not going to say he was the first serial killer, but he was one of those ones that you grew up thinking of as like a modern day monster, because they didn't catch him either. And he would target prostitutes in the dark alleys of London. Well, this is, I don't know why I'm showing you. I mean, this is the research that went into it and the footnotes of what he came up with. And it's, I think like the book that you and I read, Lou, Did You Hear What Eddie Gein done? The fact that it's real life, and that it happened, and that somebody could do something so monstrous, is really what's scary here. And in this book, there's a lot of dealing with people covering up stuff, because of where Alan Moore thinks the true killer, who the true killer is. So people who are trying to protect the true killer are getting in the way of the investigation. But it's a fabulous story that, as I said, like with Did You Hear What Eddie Gein done, is scary because somebody really did it.
Yeah.
So as you look at something like a Joker book or something, that's a comic book. This happened, and that's freaky. Freaks me out that it happened. I don't know. Maybe the Zodiac Killer did something to my psyche as a young boy in Northern California. Then Patty Hearst happened around just after that. and you know, I was like, and I was right in the middle of that as far as living through that through the newspapers and television. So it was the late 60s, early 70s was a odd time to grow up, especially in California, where these things happened.
The Manson murders were around that time as well.
Yeah, the Manson murders, absolutely. You're 100% correct.
Which I just love. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
I love the ending of that film. How Quentin Tarantino does a revision of it. Oh my god,
I love it. I love that the way I love Inglourious Bastards, like the way he rewrites history. I feel like he gave Sharon Tate her due, and a revival of interest in Sharon Tate, I think, happened because of that movie. Margot Robbie doesn't have to say a lot in that movie, but she embodies the sort of movie actress of the time, you know, taking off her boots and being barefoot in the theater as she watches herself, and finagles her way into the theater because, you know, I don't think she has the 75 cents to go into the movie theater. She says, "This is me. I'm in this movie," and gets the ticket taker to let her in. I know Pulp Fiction is a modern masterpiece, but of all the Tarantino movies, the only one I've ever purchased has been Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So good. I love that
movie. That's a good call on the Manson murders, because that also was incredibly horrific.
1969, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It for a lot of people, it signified the end of the golden age of Hollywood.
I can see it. And it was just because of the bloody fingerprint on the gate opener that they tracked everybody down and connected everything to it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it could have gone
Yep.
Unsolved.
Yep.
So, what else do you remember from my childhood? What other gory things do you remember that I grew up to?
Oh man, where's the beef?
Let's see, that was 1984?
83, 84, I think.
Yeah. And he's still lost by a landslide.
I know.
But it's a great comment. Her
I
name was
struggle to- Sorry.
Go ahead.
Man.
No, go ahead.
I struggle to remember a lot of shit, but for whatever reason, I remember a lot of random dates to this type of stuff.
Yeah. Like her name was like Clara Pelly or something. And Wendy's, that really was an amazing commercial where she would say, "Where's the beef?" That did a lot for Wendy's, actually, as far as driving sales. And then Mondale used it against Reagan in the 84 debates, I think, is where that got popular. Don't even try, NFL dude. I beg your pardon. How dare you?
I will say that it's weird being in DFW now, and like every time we drive past where it happened, my wife has to point at that's where JFK was shot.
The book depository, that area.
Like every time when we go past there, like, hey, you know that's where he was shot, right?
Was that 61?
1963, November 22nd, 1963.
Okay, I was close. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it. Well, I actually do remember it. I was only 4, but I remember because the cover, going back to when we only had 3 channels and they were only in black and white, every single channel covered the funeral. I remember it was a drawn out procession because they went across Memorial Bridge to Arlington Cemetery, and as a little teeny kid, I was like, it felt like it was 24-hour coverage, although television stopped at midnight. It seemed like it took forever, and I couldn't get anything else on television. And as a 4-year-old, that frustrated me. I'm like, what's going on here? I want to see something else, and I don't understand this. And I always thought when we were driving that on my way to kindergarten or preschool, there was like this little grassy hill, and I always thought that was the grassy knoll that I always heard about.
The grassy knoll.
Yeah.
All right, man, I'm ready to call this. I got to get to bed soon.
Okay. This was filmed across the street from my house. Thank you very much. Pre-show Omnidog remembers. I remember when Clint Eastwood came by the Bragg household to give out money. That's true. He gave my mom a check. And I sat back there as a 9 or 10-year-old looking, and she shut down production for the movie because Jessica Walters took her top off. My son is coming home from 3rd grade at 3:00. This production better be shut down by then, or I will shut it down myself. And that scene was over by the time I got home. God bless my mother. Sort of. I could have seen Jessica Walter naked at the top of her game, and I was 10. Things are just starting to get put together in my head about that. Damn it. My mom didn't do me any favors.
There was a very mad Jess Bragg at the age of 10 sitting in his room going, damn it.
Now I'm mad. Back then I thought she was protecting me, which of course she was. Omnibus Collector, where can they find you on TikTok and everywhere else?
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram as The Omnibus Collector, and Twitter as Omni Collector.
You're on Twitter. Okay.
Kind of. I mean, I just use it to keep up with publishers, and then whenever stuff happens that I need to talk about, I know when it happens.
Comics Guide. Have you decided on the controversial topic we were talking about Monday?
No, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying
Okay.
to figure it out.
Okay.
But you can find me at Comics Guide 101 on Twitter and Comics Guide 101 on YouTube. If you follow my Twitter account, it's mostly just me talking about wrestling, wrestling, comics, and the shoes that I end up buying throughout the week and all that stuff. So
I kind of want that polka dot man set of shoes.
I like them. I really do like them.
They're the most colorful ones that DC's offering right now.
Yeah.
And
No.
I looked at those Harleys and all the others, the King Shark and the Peacemaker. Why would I buy the Peacemaker one or whatever his name is? But yeah, I am thinking strongly about those polka dot man ones. They are really colorful. Yeah, we're talking about shoes right now. Puma are they Puma?
They're Puma. Yeah, they're Puma shoes.
I'm not letting you drag me down that hole.
You
Omnidogs
don't.
Vault on YouTube, Omnidogs_Vault on Instagram. No shoes. No shoes. No.
I will say I have something that's coming this weekend that I know you're gonna love, and I'm gonna bring it on the show Monday. I know you're gonna dig it. It's really
that's
cool.
awesome. I can't wait to see it. And then of course that Saturday night, Batterdays in the Batcave, 8 p.m. on Eastern time on my channel, Batterdays in the Batcave. So thank you to In Stock Trades, our fabulous sponsor. We appreciate that. Thank you to the chat. You guys were all great tonight. Thank you to my co-hosts for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you to the fans watching afterwards. Peace and love. Peace and love. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Peace and love.